Hi, everyone. It's Leah from Lightworkers Lifeline, and I'm here with Kira Farr, and we are going to be delving into asking the spirits and our guides what is coming up for the next week, what we can do to better prepare ourselves, and what we can do to make it easier. So we were also, Kira was just saying that we are going to be entering a full moon, which always affects things. Was there something specific about that full moon?
I'm not sure. I just noticed, like, I was looking on my moon phases calendar, which is how I find out when we've got like full moons and new moons, and there's a full moon in Leo. So I think that all full moons are a really good opportunity to release what no longer serves us. So I've been a bit slack with my releasing ceremonies in the full moon, but yeah, I think that it's a good opportunity to get in touch with ourselves and reflect and refocus our priorities and release what doesn't serve, kind of like cutting off just anything that we don't need. Leo is a very fiery sign. It's very passionate, very creative, very bold. So I think it would be a good opportunity to, and I think the full moon is on the 26th, but I might be wrong because I don't remember numbers very well. um, but it would be a good opportunity to cut away what's stopping us from tapping into our creativity and our personal power and our sense of self. And if any of you are into astrology, I would take a look at where your where Leo is in your birth chart. So even if you don't have any planets in, like me, for instance, like I have no planets in Leo, but I still have Leo in my birth chart, and it's in my sixth house. So for me, that's the house of routine and schedules and duties and responsibilities. So with the full moon in Leo, I would suggest taking a look at where that is in your chart and focusing on it, what you can release that can help you expand in that area, what you can release and let go of that can help you grow and become more confident in that area. So that was what I just wanted to mention at the start, is that we do have a moon coming up, which is always a nice opportunity not only to see the moon, but to communicate with the moon and let go of things and give them to the moon. And yeah, so
Awesome.
that's that.
I love that. Okay, so go ahead. Let's see what they have to say for us, the cards.
So yeah, let's go. So I'm using the Fountain Tarot, which is my first deck. And we'll have a look. So what's this? Does the Spirit have for us in the collective? What messages can we get? This deck is very nice to shuffle.
I also like the iridescence on the sides, the edges. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
It flashes. Ooh, that's a whole bunch of cards trying to come out.
So we have the reverse Ten of Wands. I might pull a few out and then I'll start talking about how they work together. Okay, we have the Death card. Don't panic, everyone. It's never as bad as people think it is. We
Just
have
means change.
reverse Page of Wands. These are a bit difficult to see. I apologize. My lighting is a bit crap. So I will pull some more, but what I want to start off by saying is that judgment to me is about following the call. It's about hearing the trumpet and hearing the call to do your work, to follow your intuition and follow your soul calling. it can also be a little bit about actual judgment. So being too critical on yourself, being too harsh. I do see the reverse judgment as a sign that we need a wake-up call in a way, in order to step forward into a new, fresh chapter. Because the Page of Wands, the pages are always representative of like a child, right? So the first step in life. So the Page of Wands is like that first new beginning in terms of inspiration and creativity and passion and drive, because the Wands is that fire energy, right? So a little bit like what I was saying with Leo, it's that fiery energy, and leadership as well. I think the fire signs and the Wands in tarot represent a lot of leadership and entrepreneurship. So I think that there is a wake up call needed for the collective in regards to stepping into their creative gifts and their creative passions and their self expression as well. And it could also be with the page, the inner child healing and listening to what that has to say. The traditional Judgment card has the angel with the trumpet. You know, it's like Judgment Day, you know, like it comes down to be like, here's what I have to say about you, you know. Not, I don't really know a whole lot about the Bible or the whole situation there, but that's the imagery on Judgment. That's the typical imagery on the cards. So it is about hearing the call or some type of call, getting some type of message or information. And with death and the Ten of Wands reversed. So the Ten of Wands is a very heavy, heavy energy. It's burdens, it's intensity, it's dedication, persistence. There's a need to release, especially with death, because death is about release and transformation and regeneration. And where there is death, there is always new life. There is always going to be transformation. Okay, so I think this is about releasing our dedication and our obsession with carrying burdens that do not belong to us in favor of carrying our own torch, right? So with these images, with the Ten of Wands, you have this figure who's holding 10 wands, and it's like this big crumpled up pile of heavy lead rods, right? And it's not, you know, in other imagery and other tarot decks, it's someone carrying a big stack up the hill. It's always representative of being overburdened. But with the Page of Wands, this is a child carrying a much brighter torch, like a much brighter wand. Sorry, it's difficult to see. So I think this is about releasing the responsibilities you have to things that no longer serve you, things that are heavy, things that bog you down, and following the call. So picking up your own like torch, or carrying your own torch, or shining your own light, some type of message about like lighting your own way and dropping the responsibilities that have been placed onto you that are not serving you anymore. And obviously, you know, we do need to take care of our responsibilities and do what we have to do to survive and get by and be responsible, but not at the expense of our passion, or our light, or our joy. And we also have Four of Cups, which is about boredom and a lack of enjoyment in life. So I think that the collective is at a place where we're so overwhelmed with all of the stuff we have to deal with and all of the things that are happening in our world. And there's a need for us to get back in touch with the spirit and the child self and the enjoyment. We have Seven of Cups, which is always about having so many things, so many options. There's a picture of a woman with all these cups and she doesn't know what to do with them all or which one to pick. And it's in reverse. So it's about the overwhelm and the stagnation that the overwhelm causes when we've got so much on our plate and so much to do. I might just pull another couple. I don't know how long I'm supposed to ramble on for, but
Yeah, we can, whenever it feels appropriate for you to wrap it up. I just want to say that, you know, everything you're talking about is exactly what everyone in the support group has been dealing with, you know, everything. It's very much in alignment with what's going on in my life. And yeah, I totally saw the I forget which card it was, the child with the rod flying through the air with the colors. Yeah, I totally see the energy of that as being like, embrace your inner child, remember what used to make you soar, like your passion, the magic, the pretend, you know, lean into all of that and rekindle the passion in your inner child and let go of the burdens that we've taken on. Because what it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you don't see this, but in the last 6 months, what I'm seeing is that it almost feels like it doesn't matter how much we do, we're just staying behind. Like I'm falling behind in so many things. And I think it's fascinating because I'm doing more and I am like more organized and like have more appointments. And yet I'm not any better off. So it does seem like what's being shown to me is that I need to find a different way out of this. That the work and the being productive is no longer the way to get out from underneath this. I think what we're being told, if we're brave enough to try, is that the way out is going to be through the joy and the passion and that whole inner child experience. So I'm going to try experimenting with that this week.
It's definitely what we've been told in society is that we have to do more and simultaneously be less, if that makes sense. Like we have to work, do, act, but we can't
We
be
can't be.
bright, brilliant beings, but we have to work like we are. Like we have to work like we are everything, and we can't have anything to take home. We can't have anything for ourselves. We can't nourish or feed ourselves. And the image of the Ten of Wands is someone who is just drained, like completely to the point of no return. They are exhausted. And the page is the complete opposite. The page is this young, beautiful, new energy. And we need to be tapping into that energy within ourselves because we're such in society, humanity is very obsessed with work, 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 produce, 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 achieve, achieve, and consume in every capacity. And it's just so intense and rough on the body, on the mind, on the emotions, soul, everything.
So true.
Yeah, we have a need to open up emotionally as well because we do have the Ace of Cups reverse. So there's a need for us to renew our hearts. I feel like there's a lot of heavy energy that we've been feeling, and we need to open our hearts to healing and to intuition and to inner guidance as well. You just get
Yeah, that makes perfect sense because that's another way to access the joy and the passion and the inner child is through the heart.
exactly. And I think I'm seeing like an image of a sponge being like wrung out. I think we need to expel our emotions and our feelings and that heaviness and allow ourselves to cry, allow ourselves to be free in our emotions, because
I,
there's a lot happening.
I think that that's where that sense of being wrung out is too, that exhaustion. It's like we're literally having the last dregs of this stuff just wrung out of us. And if we don't have that picture in mind, we can literally feel like we are about to expire. But maybe the true message is that this is all the stuff you can let go of that's being wrung out of you. So if you are undergoing exhaustion and feeling like you are just being drained, instead of feeling like that's your life's blood and your energy, let's visualize and intend that is all the things that no longer serve us are being wrung out of us, okay? And let go of that. Let's willingly let go of that. And I can already feel in my body that that shifts it from I'm exhausted to I'm energized, because in the process of releasing, there's motion. It's going out the door, and that brings energy because there's movement. What is not energy is stagnation. That is lack of energy. That's like the boredom that you were talking about. Yeah, this is a powerful reading.
We also have another really lovely message with the Sun and the Eight of Cups. This is about walking away to chase your joy, basically. So the Eight of Cups is walking away from everything that does not serve you, which is once again what I was already talking about. And the Sun is pretty much, to sum it up, happiness. It's joy. It's that childlike spirit. There's also a kid on this card as well. It's also associated with Leo, which is the sign that's having the full moon. The full moon is going to be in on the 26th or something, give or take. So yeah, once we walk away from these burdens and this heavy energy, and we undergo this death and regeneration process while simultaneously opening ourselves up to that calling and that truth, that stagnation and that fear and that paralysis and indecision is going to drift away, because we need to have the courage to leave what is not for us and follow our joy. So back to the full moon in Leo, what I would ask you to get in touch with your inner child, just connect to your inner child and ask your inner child what brings them joy, what they want to follow, and what hinders that, and release the things that hinder that, because there is, I feel, a highlighted need to, or a highlighted point that says you need to tend to your inner child and your inspiration and creativity. And also, that's very connected to the solar plexus chakra and the sacral chakra as well. If any one of you know about chakras and things like that. So that's the personal powerhouse, the personal power center with your solar plexus, which mine needs so much help. Like my solar plexus is barely functioning. So I keep getting messages about the solar plexus, and I'm like, I know about the solar plexus. I know that it's a bit, mine's specific and a bit muddied up. So working
Well, you
with the
know what?
full moon,
Go ahead. Sorry.
working with the full moon and the release any of that energy, that stagnancy in your chakras. Get the wheels turning with the chakras, and open up to those things and connect to you. Empower the joy and creativity your inner child has that maybe they weren't allowed to execute at the time that they existed. And that's something that you can bring into being as an adult, as the person who takes care of your inner child, like showing them the way, showing them that they can follow their joy and their bliss. So that's the tarot messages that I have for the week ahead. Hopefully that resonated with everybody. I mean, Leah's already said that it's resonating a little bit, so that's really good, and I'm glad. Yeah, and what were you going to say?
Oh, just that the solar plexus is the seat of our will. So very
Yeah.
often, if you are feeling choppy in your solar plexus or weak, it's because you've been having someone else's will trying to influence yours or overriding your will. And if you grow up with that experience, it can be hard moving in and out of that chakra because we haven't been allowed to.
Yeah.
So it's like
Exactly.
if someone yells at you, you feel it. Most people feel it in that area of their body, right? Where the solar plexus is, right in through here is where people can feel it. And that's because it's literally someone trying to dominate your will with their will. When they're yelling at you, that's what they're doing.
Yep.
Oh,
Exactly.
well, that
Yeah.
was fabulous. I really, really related to that. And I love the idea that, what is coming up right now, the cure really is to focus on your joy, to find your passion, to remember what these things are, to nurture your inner children. And I don't know how many of you are actually doing that, but I will tell you that I've been having a really rough couple of weeks. And this last week, I found myself, I literally was hugging myself when I was crying in my living room. And for the first time, I felt my own hug on such a deep level. It was the best hug I'd ever received. It was the hug I had longed for from all these different people who were never actually fully there for me. But I was fully there for myself and I fully understood why I was feeling and I didn't reject myself and I supported myself. And wow, it was good.
We are capable of loving ourselves exactly the way we need to be loved because we understand ourselves to a very intense degree. Like you're going to be your home for the rest of your life, and your soul is your home for the rest of time. So we are capable of loving ourselves in ways that no one else can, or in ways that everything is visible. Like there's nothing that's missed. Like we are capable of seeping in to every place within ourselves and taking care of that. And so to have love for yourself and to have love for your inner child is the most brilliant um, form of love on the face of the earth. There is no conditioning, there is no demanding, there is no this and that, all of that crap. There's just like love. And I like to think of all of the people that I have been as a soul, all of the people I have brought into being by incarnating. And I'm just so glad that I got to be me and that I got to meet myself. And I'm glad that I'm someone who is awake enough to recognize that I have been someone and I continue to be someone. And I love that about every aspect um, of myself and everyone that I have ever been. I'm glad I was you, you know? I think that self love is very complex and very beautiful and very pure. And we should all have that connection to ourselves, and we should all have that connection to our inner child. So inner child is, I mean, you could never really look at a child and wish any harm upon them. Like if you're any sort of a good person, like looking at yourself as a child, you see what you are, which is just this pure potential and love and light and joy and expression. That's why kids are just so expressive, you know, and they just say everything, do everything. Like it's all about, they're just giant nerves, you know, they feel everything, they experience everything. And from one giant nerve to another, I think we can agree that it's beautiful. It's difficult, but it's beautiful.
Yes,
We should all
yes.
do that.
I love that. From one giant nerve to another. Yes, and I can definitely feel like a giant nerve a lot of the time. And yeah, that's self-love. It's fascinating how amazingly that's hidden from us in our current world. You know, of course, I've heard the word self-love, and you have to love yourself before you love someone else. But we actually are so set up to not be able to go there by the way we are conditioned. And so, you know, to finally struggle through to the point where I've gotten the dichotomy of seeing the difference, it's mind blowing. And it is truly, again, if you've never experienced it, I will say that I received more of what I always longed for in that few minute hug than I had gotten from myself, than I have ever gotten from any kind of closeness with another human being. And in some ways, that's almost a little sad because I guess I'm like letting go of that fantasy that, you know, of someone that's going to come and rescue me. You know, it just, I guess I am my own hero.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I've done a lot of the same work because I feel like the acceptance and love that I can give to myself is, there is no person on earth who I've experienced who has been willing to give that to me, that unconditional love. And I, like, it's very painful having to shed that fantasy, like you said, that there's going to be people that will make you feel whole. Because in reality, like from my experience at least, no, absolutely not. But when I'm connecting to spirit, when I'm connecting to my soul family, when I'm connecting to myself, I'm like, that's the thing. And I think that's so, like, that's the most painful part about incarnating and being a human is you look for love that feels like home, like where you've been, like the love that you come from, and it falls short every time. And that's something that I have recently kind of only just been like, oh crap, that makes sense. Why everything feels so, I guess, in comparison, a little bit off. Because I'm like, oh, what I'm looking for is must be real, because despite never having experienced it in the physical, I know it exists because I'm full of that type of love, and I have felt it through spirit, and I have heard people talk about their experiences with spirit and how they feel that intense love, and I've experienced that myself. So we know it's real. That's why we look for it in our parents, why we look for it in our friends, why we look for it everywhere. But it just never seems to be there. Um, and so it's kind of like a heartbreaking experience looking for home in the eyes of people who are not only fully unaware that it even exists, but have absolutely no intention of ever, you know, touching that light again until they go home. It's very painful. It's very sad. You almost just want to like shake people. Like, hello, what are you doing? Because yeah, like I think that energy of love, it transcends all of the burdens and all of the stresses. And when you are filled with self-love and self-satisfaction with life and who you are, that consumerism and that need to be more than you are or more than the world sees you as falls away. And the society we've built is built upon the need for us to hate ourselves and reject ourselves. Consumerism, all kinds of shit. It's all built on the basis that we hate ourselves and that we are alone. It's that what's that thing you said in the book about like divide and conquer?
Yeah.
It's
The oldest warfare strategy is divide and conquer. So if I can divide you from yourself, I've weakened you ultimately. You know, dividing from your neighbors, dividing you from your community, those are all devastating for sure and weakening. But to divide you from yourself, I now have absolutely removed any possibility for you to truly feel good in your skin, because you have to be connected to yourself and loving yourself to feel good in your skin. And this whole thing is just so hidden from us. And I think this was a great conversation to have. And I loved how the reading brought us here. And I think this is something we should talk about on a regular basis, because this self-love thing is huge. And it really is hidden from us. You know, being on this path for as many decades as I have, and yet ultimately that self-love part sounded so cheap and like flimsy. And it turns out it's the juiciest, sweetest, richest bit. It's amazing. So it's a whole revelation. But yeah, we probably shouldn't go on for too much longer so that people can get back with their lives. But I'm very much looking forward to the next time we do this. And we will be sending you guys an email kind of, you know, talking about all this stuff. But yeah, let's work on our self-love. I think that that's probably one of the biggest things we could be doing for the next year. This will be the year of self-love.
Yeah, thank you all for listening, and thank you, Leah, for hosting. I'm glad that the messages flowed really well and that we could bounce off each other and have a conversation. And yeah, I look forward to doing the next one and writing about the writing in the newsletter and exploring all of that and see where it goes. And yeah,
cool. It'll be good. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording and I'm not going to turn off the Zoom. I'm going to just stop the recording.